Greetings, YouTube. Beautiful mind here. We have this question from College Algebra. It comes from section 1.6, question 61 from the back of that section. We're asked to solve this equation. So this is an example of solving radical equations. So the first step is actually kind of done for us already. First thing we want to do is isolate one of the radicals. So what we're going to do, since the radical's already isolated, we want to go ahead and get rid of the square root by squaring both sides. So we're going to say this squared and this squared, right? On the left, when we square, the square cancels the square root, so they're inverses of each other, so they cancel each other out. And we're left with x plus 2 on the left. On the right, we have to FOIL. So I'll go ahead and write it out. 1 minus the square root of, give me a moment. Let's see, so this is 1 minus the square root of 3x plus 7 times itself. Okay, so if we FOIL, FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last. We use it when multiplying expressions binomial in form. Okay, so again, first, outer, inner, and last. Okay, so our first times first is going to be the 1 times the 1, and that'll give us 1. Outer is the 1 times this, so that'll just be minus square root of 3x plus 7. Inner times inner are these two in the middle, so that's going to be the same thing, negative square root of 3x plus 7. And then last times last, let me kind of go like this. So last times last are these two. So it's going to be that thing squared, right? So we have this 3x plus 7 square root. So double negative is positive, or let's do it like this. But that thing squared, right? So a negative times a negative is a positive, so that's going to become positive. Square root squared goes away, right? So let's just go ahead and account for all of these changes. So the x plus 2 just comes down. The 1 comes down. Something plus itself becomes twice that amount. So minus 2 times the square root of 3x plus 7. And then here we just have plus 3x plus 7. So then we combine like terms. Now we want to isolate the radical again. So I'm going to move the radical to the left by adding it to both sides of the equal sign. Okay. I'm also going to go ahead and move everything else to the other side, back to the right hand side, right? So something plus its opposite goes to 0. Let me go ahead and show this as well. I'm also doing subtracting x, subtracting 2, subtracting x, subtracting 2. So those cancel each other. Okay. So on the left, we're left with 2 times the square root of 3x plus 7. On the right, we have 1 plus 3x plus 7 minus x minus 2. Combine like terms. That's going to be what? 2x. There's an 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and divide everything by 2. So I'm going to say the left divided by 2 and the right divided by 2. Those cancel. On the left, we have square root of 3x plus 7. On the right, dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by a half. So long story short, we essentially had to distribute the half into the top. So we get x plus 3. So now this should look familiar. After all of that, we were able to get rid of one radical, so we just do it again to get rid of the second one, right? So if we do it again, we square both sides and solve. I'm just going to kind of work it out. So those cancel. We're left with this. This becomes x squared plus 6x plus 9. I'm going to set it to 0. So we'll get x squared plus 6x plus 9 minus 3x minus 7 equals 0. So then we'll get this plus 3x plus 2 equals 0. We want to see, can we factor that into something of this form? X and x plus and plus should be 2 and 1. Notice that 2 times 1 is 2. Fill in this color. I just chose a color at random. Okay. So notice that 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. So those are the two numbers that we were looking for. By the zero factor property, when two things multiply to give a 0, either the first thing equals 0 or the second thing equals 0. Alright, so then from here we get x equals -2 or x equals -1. So then we need to check both of these in the context of the original. So if we go back to the original, we got x equals -2 or x equals -1. So let's try when x is -2. Okay. So now when x is -2, -2 plus 2 is 0, square root of 0 is 0. So on the left we'll get 0. 3 times -2 is -6, plus 7 is 1, square root of 1 is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0. So the 2 checks out. So the -2 checks out. Let's try -1. -1 plus 2 is 1, square root of 1 is 1. -3 plus 7 is 4, square root of 4 is 2. 1 minus 2 is -1. Over here, I think we got +1. I think they don't match up, right? So it looks like this one did not work. Okay. So then the only solution that we can accept should be the x equals -2. Okay. Let me do it one more. I think I'm going to actually accept that. So now, again, with any of these examples that I post, if I leave the video with an error and you catch the error, if you're my current student, I give extra credit for catching my mistakes. So I'm not as meticulous as I could be. Sometimes I try to intentionally leave mistakes for you all to catch, okay? But so in this one, I got that -2 worked and the -1 didn't. All right. So then the only solution here was -2. -1 is what I like to call the right-wrong answer. Algebraically is correct, but we ended up producing a result that was outside our domain. So even though the algebra is correct, -1 doesn't work in the original, so we just go with the -2. All right. So, oops. Did we say it right? Okay, so on that note, we will end the session here. And from one beautiful mind to another, enjoy the rest of your evening.